next presenter is Dr. Ameera AlHasan. She practices in Kuwait. She took part in the first SoMe4Surgery summit here in Madrid, and she's the leader of SoMe4Trauma. She was the one that convinced Kenneth Mattox to join SoMe4Trauma, and it has been a tremendous success. And Kenneth Mattox is particularly active on Twitter. I think that because Ameera convinced him that it was a great tool to promote trauma surgery. So your turn, Ameera.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello? Yes.
All right, hello everyone. Thank you for having me. I'll just share my slides.
There you go.
All right, so can everyone see them?
Yeah.
Right, so we've been doing SoMe4Trauma on Twitter for just under a year, and I'm quite happy with the progress that we've made. So for anyone out there who'd like to set up an online educational community, here's in a nutshell what we've been doing. We've been sailing the 7 seas. I promise that sounds easier than, it's easier than it sounds. Right, so when you first set up your account to your educational account, don't just sit there and wait for people to follow you back. Communicate to others that you exist. So follow surgeons and actively ask them to follow you back. Don't be ashamed to approach influential surgeons, those with a large number of followers on Twitter, and ask them to promote your platform. Do some offline promotion as well. So ask your friends, your colleagues, your residents to follow you back on Twitter. And once you have an audience, try to grab their attention. Don't just tweet random surgical facts. Be creative and engage them in debates, in discussions. Stimulate them through case scenarios and video clips and discussions on journal articles, for example. So Julio already mentioned we do Mattox Monday, which is essentially an online mentorship session that happens on Mondays. And we've been very happy with the response we received from that. So people all over the world get to engage with a high caliber mentor. So I think we've been quite successful with that. That said, it brings me on to my next point. You can't do this on your own. You have to collaborate. You have to have a team, not just of stellar faculty, but young surgeons, residents, medical students, journals and associations. So we've had support from the Journal of Trauma and Acute Care Surgery. We've had support from the Royal College of Surgeons of England, the British Trauma Society, and so on and so forth. So teamwork is a driving force behind online educational community. So now you've got your followers, they're having fun and engaging. They're going to stop at the end of the day and ask, so what have I gained from all of this? What have I learned? So you need to pay equal attention to the content. Offer valuable scientific discourse, topics that are relevant. So what we usually do on SoMe4Trauma, we have a behind the scenes agenda. We have a curriculum. We don't show it to people, but I usually have a checklist. So have we discussed liver trauma, colorectal trauma, damage control surgery? So we have an entire curriculum that's covered. People don't know we do this systematically. They think it's random, but the content is there because you need to make it worth people's time. And you can look around and see what other people around you are doing. Pick up on tips. But a word of caution, don't be a copycat, because that's a recipe for failure. Build a character, a persona of your own. Again, when people think Mattox Monday, they think SoMe4Trauma. It's uniquely us. Do something that makes you you. Develop your own hashtag so people can look up your activities and commit to it. So when you promise your audience to show up for a Twitter activity on a particular day at a specific time, make it on time. Everybody who has been with us on SoMe4Trauma, myself included, has put in weekends, family time, holidays to do the activities. We're very grateful for that. And it does give back. Whatever you reap from your activities and from your community is a function of the time and effort you put into it. And if you've worked with me, I can be rather pesky. So I'll chase you through emails, messages, make sure you show up on time and use the hashtags. So it really is how much dedication you assign to that endeavor. And finally, choose how you wish to portray yourself on your platform, what kind of behavior you'll tolerate. So be credible. Punctuality is one aspect we've discussed of credibility. Another aspect, be the science police. Don't let misinformation slide. If you know that fact that was tweeted was incorrect, don't retweet it. Try to tweet evidence just to stir that person on the right path. And most important of all, respect authorship and copyrights, especially if you wish to post quotations, journal articles, snapshots and excerpts from books. Most authors and medical publishers are present online. You can find them, and the least you can do is mention them on their own work. Give credit where credit is due, and have an explicit code of conduct for your community. Make it clear what kind of behavior you will not tolerate. Things like discrimination, racism, religious or political extremism, because I believe a healthy learning environment is tolerant and all-inclusive. And again, it's really up to you how you wish your environment to be. And that's pretty much it. These things are a no-brainer, but it is an effort to put them all together in one shot. And I suppose that's it for me. Thank you, everyone who's been with us today, and to everyone who's helped on SoMe4Trauma.
Thank you very much, Ameera. Questions? No questions?
I would just say one thing. That was a great lecture. I mean, I think those were really, really useful tips. It's not a question so much the compliment, but I think those are very good tips. I have sort of peripherally watched what you're doing. I don't get involved with trauma, but I have found it very interesting. And so I commend you on your work and on the very practical advice you've shared with people. It's tried and tested, and you're right, it does take time, and being punctual is key. It shows respect for the people with whom you're engaging. So keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Questions? More questions?
Hello.
Yes?
İyi misin?
Oh.
Toplantı dinliyordum aşkım.
Ameera, how did you decide to start SoMe4Trauma? What was your motivation?
Right, so I came back from the first SoMe4Surgery summit in Madrid, and there was a SoMe for everything, peritoneum, HPB, practically everything, and there was no SoMe4Trauma. And there is not a single surgeon, or like a single one of us, who has not done trauma at some point in their career. And yet there was no SoMe4Trauma. And I've been teaching advanced trauma life support for about a decade, and yet there was no SoMe4Trauma. So it's like, why not come up with it? I remember texting you and asking for your blessings to go ahead and do that. So yeah, so that's what incited me, the first summit.
And what are your metrics for success? How do you measure success?
That is a tough question, because people look at the number of followers when they measure success on social media, right? Again, it's a very personal choice. I'm more satisfied with the quality of the interaction than the quantity. If people know that good quality work is being presented on SoMe4Trauma, that you can learn something out of it, then great. Obviously, everybody wants more followers. But again, it's how many followers is enough? How many is too many? It's like making money, right? Some people stop at their first million, others won't stop until they make billions and billions. But I'm pretty satisfied with what we've achieved. But we still want to do more. I invite everyone who wants to contribute to do so on SoMe4Trauma. You can still do it within your own field. So we've had ophthalmic trauma, we've had colorectal trauma. So you don't have to be a trauma surgeon to discuss those topics. You can be a colorectal surgeon or an ophthalmologist. So, so my metrics have been basically good quality work. I think I'm pretty happy so far with what we've been doing.
One more question. Do you think there is room for, or if it would be good to translate what you have gone through, your experience, into a print version of SoMe4Surgery? Is there room for publications?
Oh, yes, definitely. The only challenge ahead of us, I think, will be the data, just gathering the data and putting it in. I think there's so much to share from the SoMe4Trauma experience, but just to turn that into science, that process of turning tacit knowledge into explicit knowledge, where's the philosopher's stone that will do that for you, right? So that's the challenge there. We hope to do so. We're still not, we'll turn 1 year next month, so still time, we'll do it, hopefully. I invite anyone who's interested to work with us. We've been working on some things, but I don't want to divulge details. Me and Professor Mattox will come in due time.
That's very interesting, because for a community like this, SoMe4Trauma and collaborating with you would be a good way to generate publications that are also important for junior faculty and for residents and trainees in general. So there is an opening here to generate explicit knowledge out of what you have gone through and what is to come, of course.
Oh yes, sure. Yeah. So we do have a residents roundtable. So I invite residents to please join us. There is space for you to do your own work. Oh, sorry.
Perfect. So thank you very much, Ameera.